Prologue. Midoriya woke up on the floor. His mom wasn't home, and his trainer made sure to stop by early at his house to prepare him some breakfast. Young Midoriya, school is starting soon. The entrance exam will be occurring today too, a deep-voiced man said beside him. Get up now, young one, you will need to be good, he continued. All Might had been training with him all this time, and his training worked. Midoriya has a well-built body, and his arms and legs were very muscular, but it wasn't very noticeable. All right, All Might, he replied, putting a white shirt on. Midoriya put a jacket over top of him and wore his black pants. Putting his socks on, he asked, "How do you think I'll do, All Might?" he asked as he sat down on the table, awaiting his meal. "You will do amazing, my boy," All Might replied, smiling. All Might had served him a plate of pancakes, eggs, and bacon. Before he dug in, he thanked the food. Itadakimasu. After his delicious meal, he made his way to the shoe rack and the door exit. Wearing his stylish red shoes, he stood up and looked at himself in the mirror and remembered the weakling he was before training with All Might. Walking out, he grabbed his bag. "See you after school, All Might." Arriving at UA, everyone was walking inside the building. Midoriya did the same, but was pushed off to the side. "Hey Deku, that nicknames, could it be Kakin?" "Damn right, nerd," a smirk spread across his face. "You do know you aren't gonna be making it to anything, right?" the blonde Katsuki said as he pushed him. Tripping, the green-haired boy caught himself as he looked at his best friend. "Kakin, I seriously hope that you make it in," the boy said as he looked at him. Weird enough, there was no sarcasm, just a simple, innocent, bright smile on young Izuku's face. The blonde boy left him and rolled his eyes. Deku shrugged and got ready for the entrance exam. "All right, we can do this," he thinks to himself as he sees a girl pass by. A girl with not too long or not too short hair passes by. Her cheeks are bright as ever and her eyes are adorable. Deku couldn't help noticing the cute details on her. Izuku continues walking and gets past her like a normal person. His anxiety struck him as he tripped on his own shoe. Izuku expected himself to fall, but he looked up and he was floating, the girl who was right behind him and checking up on him. "Oh, are you okay?" Silence, he was really embarrassed. "Well, I'm sorry for using my quirk without permission, though I don't think you mind it." A smile spread across her face as he got flustered. "Zero gravity?" he asked. "Yes, you're correct. How did you know?" "A very rare quirk, but I take notes on things like these," Izuku says as he tries to get back up. The two talked for a bit as they got into the school. As they got to know each other, they realized they had a lot in common. "In all honesty, I enjoy going to the mall, I guess," the brunette said. "I don't know, I don't really have much friends, so I rarely go out to places like that." The green-haired boy scratched the back of his neck as he chuckled. "What? Are you serious? You're a totally cool guy. I swear people from your middle school probably don't know you well enough." After hearing those words come out her mouth, Izuku blushed. "Hey, wait, I didn't even get your name." A short giggle followed after her sentence. Izuku felt his heart skip a beat after hearing the cute giggle. Oh, I'm Izuku Midoriya." The boy tilted his head and smiled. "Well, Midoriya, I'm Ochako Uraraka. You can call me Ochako, though I'm kind of comfy with you." The boy felt his eyes widened after hearing her say that. "Okay, Ochako, I guess you can call me Izuku." "Great. Attention all UA entrance exam PARTICIPANTS. The entrance exam will be SDARTING in 20 minutes. Please report to the office to know which door you enter. Thank you and good luck," an automated text-to-speech sounding like voice announced. "Well, I'll see you later, Ochako," the boy waved, making his way to his gate since he knew where we was going already. "Yeah, see you, Izuku." And alas, the exam has started. And so my journey begins. After the entrance exam, some of the participants hung out, but Izuku went straight home. Day after night, he couldn't stop thinking about the zero-gravity girl. A few weeks have passed, and Izuku got mail from UA High School. "Dear Midoriya Izuku, you earned a total of 94 points. You scored in the top 5, and we are very glad to have you. Receiving this letter means you have made it into the high school. Please remember to bring your hero costume, but also know there will be major upgrades to your utilities. The first day of school will be September 8th. And remember, plus ultra, UA High School." Izuku's mom was so happy that she felt tears in her eyes after receiving the news from her son. The two celebrated that night with home-made hot pot that his mom had prepared. A few weeks have passed. It's the first day of school. The boy got information that he was in the class with most of the elite, Class 1A. Entering the school, he sighed. I finally made it, Izuku said to himself as he smiled, with his eyes closed. Entering his classroom, he noticed a few familiar faces from the entrance exam, though he didn't remember exact details anymore. Izuku took a seat at the side of the class near a window and began to gaze upon the view of the yard of the school. Suddenly, a palm hit the desk he was sitting at. Izuku had been startled and flinched at the loud noise the hand made. Deku, looks like you're in class with me again, Katsuki said with a mean look in his eyes. Hello Kaken, glad to see that. How was the entrance exam for you? I got in the top 20, Katsuki bragged as he flipped his collar up. I'm going to be #1 hero Deku, just you wait. Izuku didn't want to say anything about getting top 5. He didn't really want to ruin his mood. He noticed the brunette had come into the room. There is no way she is in this class. Holy crap, the angels have blessed me, the green-haired boy thought to himself. Ochako waved at Katsuki and Izuku, as they both waved back in sync. The class started and they were introduced to their homeroom teacher, Aizawa, also known as a pro-hero, Eraserhead. Izuku was low-key fanboying about him, but he kept his composure throughout the class. The day started off with introductions and it was Midoriya's turn. Hello, I am Izuku Midoriya. I plan to have a great year with you all, he bowed and made his way back to his desk. Lunch had already started. Everyone already had groups to eat with, but poor Izuku was alone. He decided to sit at a bench by the garden and admire all the pretty flowers. Izuku heard faint steps that seemed to have gotten louder. Oh, you're so cute, a familiar, aggressive voice said. Curiosity filled him as he looked up. It was a mistake. Instant regret flooded his mind. He saw his dearest Kaken and the zero-gravity girl holding hands and talking. Izuku immediately looked down. He began to squeeze his hands tight. Why do I even care so much, he thought to himself as he looked at them again. The girl glances at Izuku and smiled. You know those smiles that are just so beautiful and everything else is not important anymore? Yeah, that typical smile. Izuku smiled back, eyes closed. He has his eyes closed because he didn't want to see them anymore. The two walked past Izuku. What's up, Deku? Katsuki placed a leg on the bench, causing his childhood best friend to flinch at the sudden movement. Ochako had a worried look on her face. Katsuki, as that fell out of her mouth, Izuku flinched again, but not as obvious. First name basis, why are they? Why do I even care? I barely know her. Why are you being such a drag out here all alone? Hey, don't say that to him. Izuku's a pretty cool guy, Ochako defended him. Why in the fuck are you calling him by his first name? Katsuki tilted his head and made an intimidating face. We met at the entrance exam. We just started calling each other our first names, Kaken. Sorry if that bothers you. Ochako laughed at the nicknames they have been using for each other, and Bakugo rolled his eyes and began walking away from the other two. Stupid Deku, Kaken says, you worthless little shit, he continues. An echo in his head he hears, but he gets distracted from the worried look at the girl's face. Deku, I thought your name was Izuku, the girl said as she squatted down to sit next to him. Actually, it is Izuku. Deku's just a nickname that Kaken made to make fun of me. He says it means useless and worthless. Oh, I am so sorry, forgive me. Don't worry about it, I get that all the time, haha. His laughs were really fake. Well, I find that nickname cute. I don't know, but I wanna start calling you that too. Her smile warms up his heart. May I ask why you were hanging out with him? He's my boyfriend. The word echoed in his head as his eyes widened. We got pretty close after we met at the entrance exam. I found he liked me, so I gave it a chance. I'm gonna be honest though, I'm kind of. She trailed off. Izuku didn't even realize she was talking. For some reason, a girl he barely even knew dating Katsuki was hurting him and causing the boy to space out. Hello, Earth to Izudeku, she snapped in front of him. Finally, Izuku blinked and began listening. I'm really glad for both of you, I really am, Izuku smiled, leaving an awkward silence. Sorry, I just, remembered I had to do something. Izuku left in a rush. His heart was aching, but he had no idea why. Do I need an explanation? After suddenly running off like that, the boy thought to himself. You idiot, she's definitely not gonna believe that you're fine. Izuku ran toward the boy's washroom and washed his face. You just met her, don't get any weird ideas. She's also Kaken's girlfriend, you have to support them. Izuku ran back to his classroom as he realized lunch was almost over. By the time he arrived, Ochako and Katsuki were back before he was. Izuku sat down on his desk as he pulled his earphones out and listened to some playlist he made. Ochako was about to make her way to Izuku's, but Katsuki held her arm and shook his head. Obviously, Izuku didn't see anything. Ochako looked down in disappointment and sat back down on the table of the desk Katsuki was sitting in. School had ended and Izuku was exhausted. The boy played with his green hair and ruffled through it. Ochako came running to him. Deku, hey, wait up. Izuku heard a familiar voice call his nickname. Oh, he turned around and it was the last person he wanted to see. Not that he hated her, but he was just really confused. Look, I know we aren't that close, but... She was interrupted by a loud ash blonde. Deku, get away from her! Katsuki came running in and attempting to punch the boy, instead only hitting air as he dodged quickly. Katsuki was just overly protective. Most of the time, he was way too much though. Katsuki ended up rolling his eyes and bringing his hand up, creating tiny explosions. Doesn't this remind you of the old times, Deku? Katsuki mentioned as he brought his hand down. Izuku had began overthinking about all the times Katsuki had abused him and hurt him physically and mentally. The times he even told Izuku to kill himself, and his breathing got heavier. Ochako got closer to Izuku as she worried for him. Ochako, don't you even dare, let's go. The green-haired boy held the girl's arm and looked at her. Just be quiet and go back to him. Agree with everything he says if you want to keep your relationship, he states. Izuku did know Bakugo for a long time. After all, he is Izuku's ex-best friend. I don't want to be in a relationship where I won't have rights. Maybe you're the one who should stay quiet, the girl said assertively. I heard that, you round face. That hit her. She glared at him. The crowd was looking at the three. You're being too loud for no reason, Ochako said. Fix your damn attitude with me, Kaken said as he walked over to the two. A strike of positive emotion flew by Izuku, but soon faded away as he got a punch full of explosions. The brunette was worried, but the fog was thick that she couldn't see. After the fog cleared up, everyone was surprised. Izuku was holding Bakugo's punch. Deku's glare was something his dearest Kaken had never seen before. It was scary. 3. Harmful and hurting. Warning. This chapter contains self-harm. The punch that had almost landed at Deku was caught. The young boy looked at his best friend who hated his guts. He then turned to the girl of his dreams. I have to make a smart decision, he thinks to himself. Izuku walked away like nothing happened. Awful start, the boy thought, looking at his hand. His hand was bruised, a shade of purple and green to be precise. Damn nerd, the blonde angrily said as he walked away without Ochako. The brunette walked towards the boy but turned back to her boyfriend. He came back to his home with a neutral look. Izuku had looked around for his mother but found himself a note on the dinner table. Dear Izuku, Mother just went out to buy some groceries. Do not worry, I'll be home sooner or later. Expect me at around 8:00 p.m., okay? He was relieved that his mom wasn't home. What a shitty first day he had. The young boy began to cry into his own arms since he couldn't be in anyone else's. Coping methods never worked for him except for one. His arms were as clear as glass, clean. Things need to get a little dirty sometimes. Izuku climbed up the counter and looked for his hidden stash of sharp items. Things including razor blades, pocket knives, broken glass shards, and more. Grabbing the box, he jumped down and closed the cupboard he opened. Just this once, maybe more. And so it began, the pain of the blades slicing through his arms as blood dripped down to his table. He stared at the blood dripping as his pupils got smaller and he started to space out. Fuck, he thought to himself as he looked at his bleeding arms. Izuku smiled. He had to cope with his feelings somehow, right? The young boy didn't sleep for the night. Eventually, his mom came home and checked up on him. He pretended to sleep. He didn't want to communicate with anyone. Izuku woke up, hair as messy as always, bags under his eyes and eyes as red as a rose. He will never forget his moment he had last night. He looked for a long sleeve he liked to wear under his uniform. Finding a sweater, he put his uniform over it to see if it looked nice. The boy looked at himself at the mirror before leaving the house. "Bye, Mom, I love you," he faked a smile at her. His mom seemed to believe him. Walking to his bus stop, he pulls his phone out before he encounters Kakin or Ochako. Grabbing his earphones, he plugged them in and played some classic lo-fi music at full volume. The bus arrived and Izuku showed his pass to the driver. He saw Ochako and Bakugo sitting together and laughing. Heartaches here and there. The boy pretended to not notice them and sat in an empty seat with no one beside him. He looked out the window to see what the weather's like. Izuku noticed the weight change. He used his peripheral vision to see who was there. "Ochako. Let's talk." Izuku looked back at the window, but he felt the girl take his earbud out. "Those are really loud, haha," she chuckled softly. "Oh, sorry if I was bothering you." "Oh, don't worry about me, I just wanted an excuse to talk to you." Talk to me." "Is that so? Well, hello," he replied awkwardly. The girl chuckled with her eyes closed. "So cute. Say, how's the year for you going for you so far? I mean, everyone's pretty cool. Even Bakugo." "Yeah, even him." "Well, you're way too nice." She smiled at the boy as she played with his green hair. "She's playing with my hair." The young boy couldn't figure out how to respond. He just smiled at her with his cheeks red. Ochako looked down with a flustered look. Deku couldn't tell though. The boy walked around the school campus. Izuku looked at his phone to check his schedule. "Shit, there's hero training today, which means we have to wear our training suits." Their training suits were a two-piece that had a blue base with some white and red striped on it. Might I mention, they were short-sleeved. Izuku had held his hair in a stressful manner. Quickly, someone noticed him in this state. "Midoriya, is everything all right?" asked a boy. "Todoroki, am I correct?" "Yes, but you can call me Shoto, though it's not about me right now. You look stressed. Everything all right?" "In that case, you can call me Izuku." He attempted to dodge the question, but he clearly failed. "Okay, but what's wrong, Izuku?" "Quick, make an excuse, Deku, come on." "Oh, don't worry about me, I'm just thinking about how the dormitory system is gonna work." "I see, well, don't think about that too much, it's nothing too serious. Each class is gonna have a separate building." "I heard, but thanks for checking in, Shoto." "No problem." The half-and-half walked away, reassured his classmate was alright, or so he thought. Izuku grabbed his bag and sighed in relief, looking at his long sleeve with his fingers grabbing onto the end of the sleeve. Quickly, before anyone could notice, he stopped looking and whipped his phone out. He was sure no one was looking. Little does he know, a brunette was there the whole time. The boy sat down in his usual spot and got his books out. "All right, open your books to page 14, Mr. Aizawa stated as he stood by the chalkboard. Izuku opened his book and read along the class. "It's here, hero training." "All right, everyone, I want everyone to line up, girls here," he pointed to the left, "and boys here." Everyone lined up quickly. Aizawa began to pass uniforms as he asked for their sizes. After everyone received their uniforms, they each went to the change rooms. Izuku got dressed, stared at his arms. Luckily, there were also stalls in the change room. His body was well built, but he was still anxious due to his cuts. The boy faced his inner arms toward his torso and tucked them tightly. Quickly, he left the change room and began to stretch his legs. He spotted a boy, Tenya Iida, who was focusing on his legs as well. Tenya had engines at the back of his calves that helped him run faster. Izuku studied his stretching and began to mimic what Tenya was doing, hands in pockets. "Gather up, everyone, gather up," Aizawa stated. "This class isn't gonna be taught by me," he continued. "I will," a deep-voiced man said. It was All Might. Everyone cheered at the fact that he was the one to replace Aizawa, even if it were just for that class. Now, we must get ready for our training session. I want you to pair up with anyone in the class. I want you guys to get to know some classmates, to grow your great strong bonds, as these people will be the generation you will be working with as you grow older." "Pair up," he repeated to himself, looking around. Perhaps Shoto, he looked for him, but he was already with Momo Ieyazoru. Tenya, Izuku spotted him teamed up with Fumikage talk game. Deku, a familiar girl, said. He turned to see Ochako. Hey Ochako, Izuku replied. Care to be partners? She asked with a soft tone. Before replying, he looked around for Bakugo, but found him with Eijiro Kirishima. Sure, I guess. 5 a party that depressed me. The boy gave her a warm smile, welcoming the brunette in for a pep talk. Minutes felt like hours. As time passed by, All Might had gotten everyone's attention. Boys and girls, I'd like to see you and your partner look at each other. Examine one thing about your partner. The brunette looked at the boy closely and giggled after. He was confused as he examined her too. Now once I call on you, make sure you say one fact about your partner. Ready? Yes sir, the whole class said in unison. Denki Kaminari, he was paired with Jiro. Beautiful eyes, the electric boy replied, winking at the girl. Jiro blushed lightly. A gentleman will get all the girls, All Might said, smiling at them. Now Bakugo Katsuki. Red hair, the ash boy replied aggressively. Good, now Izuku Midoriya. Jithing Deku. Hazel eyes, he replied quickly. Her reaction was quite cute. The girl blushed and looked down as he finished his words. My boy, easy with those ones. All Might winked at him. A slight ch could be heard by the explosive boy. During last period, everyone was at their desks. Suddenly, an idea popped up in a certain pink girl's head. While the teacher wasn't there, she quickly came to the front of the class. Attention Class 1A, party at my house tonight. Fun day Friday, the acid girl said as everyone cheered. Ashido, Ashido, Ashido. Everyone but Katsuki and Izuku were cheering. Izuku had no other plans, so he decided to go. He dressed up for the party and got a text from the class group chat. Here's my address. 29 Washino Drive SC. Izuku smiled to himself, but quickly faded at the chance of Ochako going there. Get her out of your head, Izuku, you guys only met. The boy dressed up in a dark blue flannel with some black pants, followed by a pair of Vans he enjoyed wearing. Lastly, he put a beanie on and looked at the mirror. My little boy's first high school party. His mom placed her hands on his shoulders and gave him a quick hug. Haha, I love you, Mom. I love you too, my little Izuku. The boy used his skateboard that he enjoyed to use to move around the city. He skated fast, trying not to be late. Izuku knocked on the door. Izuku, welcome to the party, she said, welcoming him in. The boy didn't really socialize with anyone before, so this is his chance to make some friends. Thanks, Ashido. He approached Tenya and smiled at him. Hey, Tenya. Hello, Izuku, enjoying the party? Yes, how are you doing, bud? Not too bad, in yourself? I'm doing great, thanks. Well, I mean, you certainly look good too. He winked at him as he looked at Izuku's outfit. Thanks, man, you look pretty good yourself too. Why, thank you. By the way, have you seen Ochako? She looked a little down when she went upstairs. Try and check up on her, no one wanted to help he. The boy cut him off. I'm okay, we don't talk much anyway. Alright everyone, I managed to snuggle in some special drinks. A certain electric boy shouted, showing some beer, wine, and vodka. But hush, we can't let anyone know about anything, he said as he opened the beer. Let's drink, the boy stated as he got glasses. I'm gonna go check out the drinks, Izuku said, waving at Iida. Iida looked disappointed. He grabbed a shot glass and filled it with pure vodka. Some people noticed and began to chant his name. Izuku, Izuku, chanting could be heard. He chugged the thing and quickly flipped the shot glass upside down. Woohoo, Izuku said, excited. He repeated the process again and again and again. The boy made some poor choices. Hey, that's enough, a soft voice said as she placed a hand on his shoulder. Ochako, I can handle myself. Deku, no. Deku, yes, now leave me alone. You don't actually care, do you? I do. Okay, I'll stop. Izuku made another drink right after 100 of these. Izuku, stop it now. Or what, you'll hurt me again. What do you mean by again? He shook his head to himself and sighed, and never mind, I'm going home. Izuku stood up angrily as he glared at Ochako for a second, then looked away. Izuku, the girl held his arm. Izuku flinched, his cuts were still sensitive. Ow, the boy squinted a bit. Deku's so weak, even a small touch hurts him. A laughter started as Katsuki finished the sentence. The laughter got to him, his head filled with his traumatic flashbacks, like his father leaving his abusive best friend and seeing his own mother cry. The alcohol got to him. Running to the bathroom, he threw up in the toilet. Knocks could be heard from the door. Midoriya, it's Ashido. I am fine. His voice was filled with disgust. He managed to spit some more words out. Just give me some time, please. Okay, do you want some water or anything? Yeah, I'll take some water. After a little bit of looking at his arm, drinking water, and almost throwing up again, he got out of the bathroom and waved at everyone. His sleeve slid down and everyone noticed his scars. Swiftly, he covered his sleeve and smiled at them weakly. Do you guys know where Ochako is? I'd like to apologize. Upstairs, room to the left in the front of the stairs, Ashido stated, pointing up. He nervously walked up the stairs and put his beanie on deeper his head. Izuku opened the door slowly and quietly. Regret filled him before his eyes. Ochako and Katsuki were kissing. They were kissing. The heartache is back. He closed the door silently and went back downstairs. Izuku always pretends everything's normal, everything's fine, it's all right, right? The boy sat on the dining table and Kirishima approached him. You okay, bud? Yeah, man, I just got made fun of for being weak. Once again he wins. He began laughing, which soon turned into soft whimpers on the table with his arms wrapped around him. Hey, I saw what's going on your arm. No, you didn't got it. Six, truthfully, I want to know. After the party, the boy dozed off and fell asleep on the table. The next morning, he woke up with a blanket over him. Ashido smiled at him as she woke up on the couch. Mornings, you're the last one, Air. I'm so sorry, I'll get out of your way. Oh no, you don't have to. In fact, you should be aware that you're shirtless right now and have marker tattoos all over you. IzuOcha, the boy looked at himself at the mirror. Someone wrote "fuck me hard" on one of his abs. Yeah, no one knew that you had such a built body. All the girls were trying to get you laid by at least one of them. Yeah. Relax, I'm kidding, you're still a virgin from all of us. A sigh of relief reached him as he laughed quietly. Izuku looked at his body. Someone had drew some things he couldn't understand and others just drew inappropriate things. Sadly, some people wrote on the arm with cuts. This is an idiot who cuts. Very unhealthy. Be strong, stop being an idiot. It was all the same handwriting. He was scared other people saw it. Izuku worried that people would find out how he really felt. He shook his head full of doubt. Nah, no one else would know, right? The boy got his flannel on and began to button it up and washing his face that was full of marker tattoos. He held his hair, attempting to fix it. It quickly popped out as he fixed his hair. Izuku opened the door and waved goodbye to Ashido. Bye, Ashido. Thanks for the party and having me sleep here. No problem, and don't worry about it, okay? All right. He grabbed his skateboard and began to skate his way home. Izuku's beanie flew with him as the boy was hitting the air. Arriving home, he put his skateboard away, followed by his shoes. The boy jumped on his bed with his face facing towards the bed. He felt his body bounce a bit. Izuku, oh thank goodness you're home. How was the party? It was good, Mom, the boy replied with his head on a pillow. Sorry I stayed late, but I fell asleep while we were singing karaoke. His excuses were quite realistic, eh? Well, that's okay, as long as you had fun, all right. Embarrassment isn't exactly what he would call fun, but he smiled. Thanks, Mom. Another 2 days have passed without Izuku eating, sleeping, or doing nothing healthy except working out. Izuku's mom, had never noticed the things he was doing to himself. The boy sobbed in his sleep, not being conscious about it, and he may have done more things to himself to hurt his body. Izuku began to dress up for school, again wearing a long sleeve under his school uniform. He put his pants on and suddenly had a thought of Ochako. The boy shook his head and smacked his forehead with the palm of his hand. Get her out of your head, you dumbass, he said to himself as frustration flew through him. Shaking his head, he stood up and began walking to school. As he arrived to the campus, he spotted Ochako and went the opposite direction of her. The brunette noticed his actions and was worried but stressed from the party. The boy felt a hand grab his arm. That arm, it just had to be that arm, right? He flinched and threw his hand back to himself. It began to bleed due to the aggressive grabbing had occurred. The brunette had covered her mouth and her eyes widened with surprise. Her emotions were full of worry and scared. "Izuku, why is it bleeding?" "Nothing's bleeding," the boy said, using his fingers to hold the sleeve. "I'm not an idiot." "Well, I am, and if you excuse me, I have to get to class." "You aren't going anywhere." The girl grabbed the same arm. "Don't fight back, please." Izuku still resisted. "Stop it now." He felt his heart shatter. The girl was able to pull his sleeve up. "I can X." Izuku was cut off by a slap. Although it didn't hurt, he rubbed the place on his cheek in a circular motion. "Are you an idiot or something?" The girl seemed angry, though she was just worried. Luckily, no one was looking at them, so it was still loud. "I'm right here if you need to talk. Now what the hell is the problem? Why do you need to do this?" A silence was given by Izuku. "Answer me." The girl let go of his arm and placed her hand on the hand that was on his cheek. The brunette hugged him. The height difference was quite a gap since Izuku did grow. Her head was in his chest area. "Izuku," she called once more. "You're the problem," she gasped quietly and began to let go. "You're the problem because I think I'm in love with you," he continued. "But I can't even have you because the man I consider my best friend has you. You two love each other, not to mention he hates my guts." Although Kaken was a jerk towards Deku, Izuku still considered Kaken a friend. Now silence was given by Ochako. Izuku walked away, hands in his pockets. He lowered his head as he began to tear up. Quickly, he wiped his tears away. The brunette looked down at their position. "I think I love you too," Ochako said as she held his arm, looking up at him. "I couldn't stop thinking about you after the entrance exam. This sounds really shitty, but I really thought my feelings were real for Katsuki." The boy felt his face heat up, but it soon went away as doubtful thoughts filled him. "You're pitying me, huh?" "Nope." "Then why were you with Kaken? Why did you kiss him?" "First off, how did you see us kissing? And second, he only used me. He always tried touching me in certain places, and he also took the relationship way too fast." "Well, I was about to apologize to you during the party, then I walked in on you guys and I stayed silent." He grabbed his chest with firm grip. Izuku felt a pain as his memory was clear. The girl gently held his arm and slid it down his muscular structure and held his hand. She smiled at him. "Don't you worry, Deku, I'm here and I realized who I really like." He didn't really believe it, but she still managed to make him flushed. "I'm gonna tell you something," she sighed as Izuku turned his head toward Ochako. "Katsuki was doing perverted things. Ever since the first day he started groping my thighs, all that stuff, and I was extremely uncomfortable about it. I told him I was uncomfortable too, but instead he explained it was his symbol for love." Izuku clenched his fist, the one he wasn't holding Ochako's hand with, and looked at his feet. "Kaken shouldn't have done that." Quickly, the brunette remembered the tattoo she wrote on his arm. "By the way, I already knew you were hurting yourself. I just really needed to know why." "Was that you who wrote all those mean things on my arm?" "Not mean, helpful," the girl smiled. Back to Kaken, to his luck he was right there. "What the fuck about M?" He stopped as he looked at the two holding hands. "You fucking bitch, Izuku." "7, you promise?" The boy got startled after hearing those words from his so-called best friend. Izuku looked at him. It's been a while since he said his real name. "Get away from her, Deku." "Why?" "Because I said so." Izuku could tell the ash-blonde boy was getting angry. Tiny explosions were appearing around his hands. They almost sounded like mini fireworks. The green-haired boy let go of the brunette and stanced himself. "Ochako, stand back." The girl followed and kept a distance but was still concerned for Izuku. The boy stanced himself and got ready for the hit. "I don't want to fight, Kaken." "I fucking do. Now get ready, nerd." The boy landed a punch on Izuku's stomach. His head went blank, but he knew he couldn't give up. There was a crowd forming, some cheering Katsuki's name and some cheering Izuku's. They were all in sync, but Izuku was down. Wiping his mouth, Izuku got up. Green lighting started to appear before him. "I'm not holding back, Kaken," he said as he charged towards him. Almost like lightning, Izuku was right before him. Punches landed on the ash blonde. Falling, the ash didn't give up. Katsuki kicked the boy as hard as he could, knocking the green-haired boy out. Darkness, it's the only thing he felt. Deku, he heard a faint voice say. Opening his eyes, he saw a girl with tears. Her eyes formed rivers as he woke up. You idiot! Her voice cracked, shrieking another tear. The girl placed her head on the boy's chest. I'm sorry. It's okay, just please promise me you'll make better decisions. I promise. Thanks, Deku. He didn't know why it didn't bother him when she said his nickname like that. Placing an arm around her, Ochako flinched but soon got comfy. 8 till this day. Izuku had mixed feelings, flustered and upset, though he was mostly flustered due to Ochako's affection towards him. The hospital curtain swung open, and it revealed the boy who knocked him out, Kaken. Kaken, the boy said in slight confusion. Katsuki was all beat up and had a lot of bandages around him. Hey nerds. Are you all right? The boy asked as the girl turned back to Izuku lying down on his lap. Just a couple of bruises, sorry I lashed out. I let my stupid emotions get in the fucking way again. No worries, Kaken, I'm sorry that I did that damage on you. Ochako, the ash boy started. No, go away, she replied with a nasty tone. The ash blonde did what he was told while wiping his tears in secret. Ochako, the green-haired boy said as he scratched the back of his neck. I know what he did to you was wrong, but... No buts, he did what he did, and he also knocked you out, which I seriously don't appreciate. The blonde boy glared at his childhood friend. Fucking Deku, he mumbled as he crossed his arms. The boy rolled his eyes and looked out the window. Izuku was left with Ochako and he smiled. The girl rested her head on the boy's legs as he began to pet her head. Izuku leaned forward and kissed her forehead as he chuckled. What's so funny? The machi said, all puffy. You're just so cute, he replied. Bakugo stood up and began to walk away. Tears were in his eyes. I can't believe I loved you. Why did you ask me out anyway? Because I loved you and I still do. Now you're hitting on my best friend, hell no. You can't call him your best friend with the way you treat him. I know your schemes. You used me to make this poor little thing feel like shit. Ochako, please, I love you. Izuku was currently trying to stop Ochako from answering back. Chako, just talk about it later, the green-haired boy said as he heard explosions from the doorway. Deku, oh Deku, you know damn well what happened, haha, I can't believe this. Ochako had her first kiss with me, remember that? Words echoed into the boy's mind. I wonder what would happen next. 9 the words you say. It was a late Tuesday night. The roads were as busy as ever and restaurants were packed. Izuku was at the hospital still in bed. Beside him was the girl who he admired. The young boy was determined to ask her out, even though he was quite sure that it was gonna be yes. He still wanted to make the ask special. The green-haired boy looked at her and smiled, placing his hand on hers. She placed her chin on the bed railing. You feeling better? Yeah, especially with you here. Izuku smiled while Ochako rolled her eyes. You may be cute, but you can be pretty dorky at times, Ochako stated, following with the cutest giggle. Izuku felt his heart pound. The boy blushed as he looked away. What, can't handle a little bit of flirting, she said, nudging his leg with her elbow. I can, I just don't know what to do. Ochako, on the other hand, was laughing her head off. The boy smiled at her and admired her laugh. Soon enough, more people came into the room. It started with Tenya and then Shoto and Tsu. Deku looked at the three and smiled. Move aside, idiots. The familiar, quite aggressive voice said. Katsuki Bakugo was on his way to say something. Uraraka, I'm sorry for being an asshole. Please take me back again. Shit. Ochako looked at the blonde and sighed. She still had these tiny feelings for him, but she soon turned to Deku. He was smiling weakly. Do what your heart desires, he whispered and looked away. Izuku was having a little bit of a rough time. No, the girl replied, looking at the Bakugo. Everyone was quite confused on what the hell was happening. Ochako, please, one more chance, I swear, the ash boy was begging. Maybe he did love her after all. I said no, besides, you have your friend Cammy. Nothing happened between us. You guys were kissing, I saw it with my own 2 eyes, Ochako replied harshly. Fine, Katsuki said as he left the room. Izuku looked at the girl with worry. He signed at the three for some alone time. They nodded in sync and left the room. The green-haired boy stood up and hugged the girl from behind. Why didn't you tell me about this? He asked as he felt her tear up. I didn't want you to hurt even more. You don't need to worry about me being hurt. Honestly, I just want to see you happy. Tears filled the girl's eyes as she embraced the boy she loved. Izuku's eyes widened, but he soon returned the hug. I love you, the girl stated, like so damn much. I love you too. Ochako was as happy as ever, but something was bothering her. She couldn't stop thinking about Katsuki. The boy got up from his bed and soon got changed in his clothes, thinking that Ochako was still asleep. Izuku wore his uniform that the lady had packed and added his compression sleeve on his left arm. He was having quite the hard time to tie it. His right arm was casted after all. Aw shit. Whoa, what happened? Ochako immediately shot her head up and looked at the boy. Sorry, did I wake you? No, but do you need help? It's fine, I can ask someone else. No, I can do it, the girl said as she made her way towards him. All you need to do is ask. She's way too close. His thoughts were all over the place. He could feel her warm hand that occasionally brushes his chest. Thanks, Chako. No problem. The girl had tied his necktie and they had been staring into each other's eyes for at least 10 seconds. The girl got closer to him and aimed for a kiss. Izuku closed his eyes and felt a soft pair of lips touch his. The boy wrapped his arms around her waist as she wrapped hers around his neck. Izuku was going in a pattern, but soon enough she stopped and looked at him. I love you, she whispered, snuggling her face into his shirt. I love you too. The green-haired boy noticed that she still wasn't wearing her uniform. Hey, you should get dressed, school starts soon. Okay, but you need to come with me to my room. The nurse said that you're free to go. Go with you to your room? Why, isn't that? Izuku was interrupted with Ochako's index finger tapping his lips. Come on, nothing bad will happen, just come with me. Izuku sighed as he hung his UA cardigan since he decided not to wear it. The boy held her hand and they made their way to Ochako's room. Spotting her room, Ochako unlocked it with her key. Welcome to my ordinary room, she said as they walked in. Izuku sat on her bed as she grabbed her clothes. He looked away to give her some privacy and she smiled. Back when Katsuki and her were dating, no privacy at all was given. After she finished, she looked at herself in the mirror. How do I look? Cute. The girl rolled her eyes in a playfully way. Oh my god, stop being so damn cute. 10 make me happy. The two walked into the class beside each other. Katsuki passed by them holding a blonde girl's hand. Oh my god, that is so funny, baby, the girl said after Katsuki had whispered into her ear. Izuku looked at Ochako, who had her head down. He felt that she still had feelings for him in that moment, but he shook his head. Izuku had walked into the classroom, still with Ochako. He feared that the girl was still caught up about his dearest Kaken. On the other hand, Ochako was just upset, a feeling that couldn't be described. She missed Katsuki, or maybe just the feeling she felt with him. She turned to Deku, who had his head down this time. He didn't even realize that he had tears streaming down his eyes. She came closer to him and sat beside him. Poking the green-haired boy, he looked at her and wiped his tears with his elbow. Yes. What's on your mind? Oh, nothing, haha. I'm not stupid, you can't see. The brunette was interrupted by the voice of a groggy teacher. Kids, time for class, Aizawa said as kids scattered to find their own desk, meaning Ochako had to go to her seat. The young boy sat there in a sad manner but still paid attention to class. After school ended, Izuku made his way to the exit of the class but soon felt a light tap. Okay, Mr. Midoriya, no more running away, Ochako said as she smiled. Right. The two walked together and she asked once more. So what's wrong? I think you should stop seeing me if you still love Kaken, he said as blunt as possible. Deku, I. Just say it, Izuku said as tears dripped from him. He sure loved the girl, but he loved her to the point where he wanted her to be happy, and that his happiness was unimportant to him. I love you and only you. I just missed the feeling of being with Katsuki. I don't even know if I even loved him or not. The two were crying, and Ochako came as close to him as possible. Izuku, I love you. He shook himself and placed his chin on her head. Wrapping his arms around her waist, the girl wrapped hers around his chest area. I love you too, I just don't think you're happy with just me though. The girl's grip tightened as she heard those words. I'm sorry, I really am, but I may not seem like it. In reality, you are the only thing that's been on my mind. Ochako's words hit him, and the green-haired boy had laid his forehead on hers. I love you a lot, the brunette had said for one more time, not like it was the last, but not the first time either. I love you too, he replied with. The two had held each other's hands in happiness as they walked to Ochako's dorm. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, right? The young girl asked as she let go of his hand. Of course you will, he replied as he waited for the brunette to walk into her room. The girl tippy-toed to reach Izuku's head and had pecked his cheek. Good night, Deku, she said, not long after releasing some giggles. GGG, good night, he stuttered in complete embarrassment. The boy walked to his dorm and closed the door. He sighed as he was in complete awe. I think he was lovesick. 11 hoodies and drawstrings. Izuku had woken up with the biggest smile ever. He got ready for school with his tie up and his pants belted. The boy was as ready as ever. The green-haired teenager stepped out of his room and felt his arms shudder. Today seems chilly, he said to himself as he walked back inside to grab his dark green hoodie. The boy was too lazy to put on his uniform cardigan, and besides, it was gonna get warmer later during the day. Izuku walked down the stairs and had seen his classmate Tenya. Izuku, pleasure to see you. May I ask why you're earlier than usual? Oh, I don't know, I guess I'm just in a good mood, he replied with a questioning tone. Very well, anyway, I prepared some breakfast for myself, but it seems that I have prepared a little too much eggs and too much rice. Care to share some? The tall boy said as we showed his plate. Tenya, you don't always have to be so formal. Izuku and Tenya ate together and talked a while. The two made it seem like they were meant to be friends, best friends even. Oh, good morning, you two, the voice of a tired boy said, following a yawn. Good morning, Shoto, Izuku said with a smile. Tenya had prepared him a bowl of egg and rice as well, since they're usually the earlier ones. Geez, Tenya, why are you more of a father than Endeavor? Izuku and Tenya choked on their food at the statement and began to chuckle. Since when were you not so serious? Izuku asked as he wiped a grain of rice away from his mouth. What's this commotion about? A feminine voice said. Izuku turned around and... No, it wasn't who he hoped it was. Ah, Yaoyorozu, good morning, Shoto said as he signaled for her to sit next to him. The two sat beside each other and shared Shoto's meal. You guys look like a couple, Tenya had said very bluntly. Shoto remained neutral, although on the other hand, Yaoyorozu was red. We aren't anything like that, she said as she backed up. Shoto didn't seem to be bothered. Brrr, it's colder than I expected, a different feminine voice was heard. As Izuku turned around, he saw the girl of his dreams. Ochako made her way down the stairs to give Izuku a hug from behind. Good morning to you too, sunshine. You put me in a really good mood last night, so I want to see if hugging you can make me happier, she said, as she took a bite of the piece in between the chopsticks Izuku had been holding out to feed her. I hope that theory works, he said as he finally turned around to hug her. Tenya, Shoto, and Yaoyorozu were all shocked, but they weren't obvious about it. Kami, come on, another feminine voice said, and was followed by a bunch of footsteps. I'm coming, someone said as he ran toward her. Kaminari and Kyoko were holding hands as they walked down the stairs. Hiroshima walked down clueless as hell. So I guess I'm not attractive or I'm not attractive, he said, followed by a laugh from everyone in the room. Wait, you said you were cold, right? Izuku asked Ochako. Yeah, just a little though. Take this, the green-haired boy took his hoodie off and handed it to the girl. Ochako smiled and took it without hesitation. The girl slipped the hoodie on and it was oversized on her. Izuku was blushing really hard because, to him, she looked cute. Ochako squished his cheeks, with her palm still inside the sleeve of the hoodie. This hoodie smells like you, I like it. Izuku felt his face redden as he dug his face into her shoulder. Ochako hugged him, and since he was much taller than the girl, she was hugging his chest. Oh, Ochako, why you're really adorable, haha, he said as he placed a hand on her head. The girl looked up and had received a kiss on the nose. Get a room, you two. Ijuru came in and walked toward the pantry. His tone was comedic and didn't sound serious at all. Izuku looked at Izuru and smiled. Don't make me mention me, Ochako started, as Izuru threw a cereal box across the kitchen. Dude, shut you p, the red-headed boy said as his face flushed. Ochako and Izuku chuckled in sync as the Izuru joined in. Anyway, how long have you two been dating? Ochako and Izuku looked at each other. We aren't dating, Ochako said as Izuku nodded along. We will be soon though, he thought to himself as he smiled. Oh well damn, sorry for making an assumption. Nah, you're fine, Izuku said as he let go of Ochako with one hand to pat his back. After that little back pat, he soon placed his hand on the girl again. Okay lovebirds, it's almost time to leave. Get ready, we're all gonna walk together, Kaminari had said as he walked away from the kitchen. Izuru finished his manly protein cereal and walked toward the exit and began to put his shoes on. Okay, are you gonna let go of me or what? Ochako asked in a playful voice. Let me think about that, Izuku made a little noise. Only if you promise me you'll only wear my hoodies. Well duh, I was already planning on doing that. Izuku smiled as he let go but felt her hand intertwine with his. He was probably the happiest boy alive. Ochako walked with the boy to the school. Ochako sat down in her seat, still wearing the boy's hoodie over her uniform. Ochako, is that his hoodie? Mina had asked as she pointed at Izuku with her thumb. Yeah, it is, Ochako replied with a smile. She covered her face with the sleeve. Ms. Uraraka, I'm gonna have to ask you to bring a cardigan tomorrow if you feel cold. I'll let you wear that hoodie today, Mr. Aizawa stated as he began writing the lesson on the chalkboard. After some classes, it had finally been lunch. Ochako and Izuku were eating together, alongside Kaminari, Kyoka, and Shoto. How long have you and Kaminari been dating? Shoto asked the couple as he slurped some of his beloved soba. We've been officially together since last week. But it took me a while to build courage up to ask this girl out, he said as he placed an arm around her. Okay, maybe if I slip a note in my hoodie pocket. Tomorrow, I'll give her a hoodie tomorrow, with a note telling her to come to my dorm room at night. Oh, this is perfect. 12 Nothing special. The school day ended and everyone headed back to their dorms. Izuku was quite happy with his little plan. The young boy walked inside the elevator and rode his way up to his room. As he opened the door, the speakers in the hallways made a beep to indicate there was an announcement. All Year 1 students are required to meet in the training grounds outside your dorms at 8:00 p.m. sharp. He looked at his watch. 4:00 p.m. Izuku grabbed his phone and rushed to grab his maroon hoodie and wrote a little note for her. He began to talk out loud as he wrote. Dear Q8, no, dear Ochako, okay, I'm here to ask you an important question. To serious, I'm here to ask you a question, but don't feel pressured. Will you be my girlfriend? Shit, that sounds weird. Can I be able to call you mine? He said after the erasing and rewriting on his paper. The finishing touch was, Dear Ochako, this note has a purpose and it's gonna ask you a question. Don't feel pressured though, because I'll still be here no matter what. I've been wondering if I'd be able to call you mine. Officially, you can answer me through FaceTime or something. You have my number. Signed, Izuku. The boy folded the note and placed it inside the pocket of the hoodie he was gonna give her. He looked at the time and dashed downstairs. Oh, Izuku, what's up? A neutral tone could be heard. Oh, hi, Shoto. I was just in a rush to get to the little meeting. I see. Well, I guess it doesn't hurt to talk to a friend about something not so important. Shoto felt his face redden as he got onto the topic. He fiddled with his fingers. I have feelings for Yaei. I know. What? It's obvious, Shoto. I mean, I can always wing for you, but goddamn realize your feelings, Izuku said in a playful way. You're such an asshole, he said as he playfully punched his shoulder, smiling. This can really turn into a close friendship. Izuku was in mid-sentence, but he felt someone's arms wrapped behind him. Hey Deku, a voice of a soft angel had said his name. Hey Ochako, he replied as he turned around to give her a hug. Shoto decided to give the two some alone time as he began to walk to Yaoyorozu. Ochako looked at Izuku and kissed his nose, but the girl had to tippy-toe. I'm gonna have to take that hoodie back. W8Y. So I can give you another one that's better, Izuku said as he pulled out his maroon hoodie with his initials on the side. This was for a camp that he joined in for professional hero training. It was quite popular. Why you wanna let me borrow this one? She was quite surprised, but she took it and immediately wore it. Giving him the other hoodie, she began to sniff the hoodie's sleeves. Smells just like you. I love it, she said as she placed her hand in the pocket. Don't open the note until you get in your room, he whispered and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Ochako had felt the paper and decided to fold it into the sleeve. She smiled and kept on sniffing the hoodie. Everyone gathered at the training grounds as Aizawa showed up. The teacher had a bag in his hands. It was full of the world's most updated phones. The students got excited. All right, kids, it's time for our handouts. You'll receive a phone, a locker number, and a suitcase for your hero costume, Aizawa said as he placed a piece of paper back into his pocket. As Izuku collected his items, he looked at his costume. It was a dark green body with a mouth mask that portrayed All Might's smile and a mask with little ears on top. There were belts and bags attached to it for support. He looked to his right and saw Ochako looking at him. They made eye contact and Izuku winked at her. Ochako laughed it off and smiled. Ochako was quite excited to go back to her room and to check the note. All right, students, Wi-Fi will be up tomorrow, so don't worry about texting long-distance relatives. If you have a phone, just use the same SIM card. If not, come talk to me. Aizawa finished as everyone walked back to the dorm rooms. Izuku made his way to his room and opened his door with his key. The boy turned the lights on and closed the door behind him. He sat down on his bed and looked at the few All Might posters and figures he had. I'm gonna be as strong as you, he thought to himself before he did his nightly workout. After finishing his 30 push-ups, the boy turned his new phone in and synced it with his old phone. After a couple of minutes, the phone started buzzing. He answered it. The number was unknown. Hello. Yes, I'll go out with you, a soft voice said. 13 his cent. Izuku had gasped and smiled. The boy was quite happy, but on the other line, Ochako was embarrassed and rolling around her bed, smelling his hoodie. The sleeves were bigger than her actual arm length and she created sleeve paws. The two talked on the line, and suddenly Ochako had an idea. Hey Izuku, there's this button on your screen that says video call. You want a video call? Sure, let me grab a shirt on, he said as he looked for his dark gray sweater. Slipping it on, the boy clicked on the button. Izuku saw her face on the screen and they smiled in sync. Hey there, you look really cute in my hoodie. And you look cute in general. The couple laughed and talked to each other for the rest of the night. It was a mix of cute name calling, complimenting, and talking to each other about their families. I'd honestly like to meet your mom. She seems really sweet. I guess it's expected since she raised you, Ochako said as she finished of her sentence with a giggle. I'd like you to meet my mom too, but I also want to meet your parents. They seem to be kind-hearted like you, he smiled as he laid on his back. Can you sneak out? Asked Ochako. Yes, I'm guessing you want me to go to your room. Yeah, haha, she giggled cutely as Izuku's heart pounded just a little faster. The boy had walked over to his front door and put on his flip-flops over his socks. I'm on my way, Ochako, he said as he put the phone down. On the other hand, Ochako was nuzzling her face into the sleeves of her boyfriend's hoodie. 14 unlikely. A knock could be heard from the other side of Ochako's door. She got up and twirled around with excitement. As she opened the door, it wasn't who she expected. It was actually Katsuki Bakugo, also known as her ex. Her smile faded quickly as she was expecting her boyfriend. Ochako. Not now, Katsuki, I'm meeting someone. I swear to God if it's that stupid D. Shut your ass up, he's done nothing but look up to you, support you, and been nice to you. The way you treat that boy is so stupid. Your childhood friend that you patronize, annoy, and hurt physically and emotionally. Ochako, why the hell do you even care about him? You guys just met. We had a thing even before high school. Remember the times when we went to the cafe? And I'd catch you staring at another girl's ass? Yeah, maybe think about why I only said yes on our first day of high school and immediately broke up with you after everything that happened. Ochako, I loved you, I still do. Well, I love Deku now, Izuku if you will. Then give me my shit back, my hoodies, shirts, everything. Katsuki, I've had these packed for quite some time now. I was waiting for a chance to have a proper, mature talk. She went back inside her room, opening the door up a bit for him to follow. Katsuki had followed her inside, crossing his arms. The girl picked up a cardboard box with everything that belonged to him. Katsuki stepped out and faced her one last time. So this is it? Yeah, bye. Ochako. What, Katsuki? If Deku wasn't in the picture, could we still be Fuck off, she said as she slammed the door shut on his face. Ochako doesn't really cuss that much, but the anger she felt kinda got her emotional with her word choice. She heard her phone ring. It was Izuku. Hi. Eyes, I'm close. Are you okay? Her boyfriend felt something off with the way she answered the phone. Yeah, I'm fine. Please just hurry up here. Okay, I'm at your hallway. Open the door already. Ochako stood up and unlocked the door. Taking an exhale, she faked a smile as she opened the door, revealing her green-haired, freckled boyfriend with the brightest eyes. Ochako immediately placed her head on his chest and buried her face into his sweater, placing her arms around his back. You okay, princess? He asked as he stepped inside her room, carrying her with him. No, she sighed. What happened? Katsuki came into my room and bothered me. Izuku felt anger, but it was a calm type of angry. He noticed that he didn't need to add on to the situation. I'll talk to him first thing tomorrow, I promise. You don't have to. I will, but for now let's just… He took out a mini projector and his laptop. How about we watch a movie, eh? He said as he carried her onto the bed. Izuku set the projector to project the movie onto the wall. So, what movie? Go on Bexflix. Oh, let's watch Ratatouille. You're such a kid, he replied, chuckling as he played the movie. The boy got comfy with his girlfriend and putting an arm around the girl to ease her mind. She soon leaned her head on his shoulder, causing the boy to smile a little. After the movie had ended, Izuku had looked down and saw his girlfriend sleeping on his chest. He slowly put her down on her pillow and packed his things away. Deku, are you leaving? Yeah. Can you stay a little longer? I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I'm kinda tired. Then sleep over, sweetie, she said as she tugged on his sleeve. 15 fluff and kisses. Izuku looked behind him. What was that, Ochako? Stay the night? Izuku grew flustered. Please. Ochako looked like she needed comfort. Yeah, I'll stay the night. Izuku laid back down next to her. The couple cuddled and Izuku felt Ochako's hand go on the cheek that was further to her. This caused the boy to look at his girlfriend and away from a random movie they picked. Why, yeah, Izuku grew curious of what she was planning. Ochako leaned in for a kiss. The boy didn't hesitate to return it. Izuku placed a hand on her thigh, pulling her closer with the other hand. Ochako ended up placing both her arms behind his neck. She broke the kiss and both were grasping for air. Izuku, do you want to do it? As Izuku felt a phase of happiness, it quickly went away as he realized something wasn't right. Ochako, what happened? You usually aren't this assertive. His tone was questioning as he didn't know how to word it. The girl was still facing him while she was on her lap, her head dropped. I don't know, Izuku, that just came out. I really wanted to kiss you, then it got to that. She frowned. Can we continue? I understand if you aren't ready. Izuku shook his head. I want to wait for the perfect time, okay, Ochako? Izuku picked her chin up with his index finger. Leaning in, a quiet yeah was given from Ochako. As their lips touched, Izuku placed his hands on the bottom of her thighs. He continued to rub the top of her right thigh with his thumb. Ochako placed her arms on his chest, grabbing his shirt to pull him closer. Ochako made a bold move and asked for entrance with her tongue. Izuku was a bit surprised, but he opened up and their tongues started dancing in sync. His green hair was soon getting played with by her tiny hands. They pulled away, longing for air. The gasps were non-stop. Ochako rested her head on his shoulder, still on his lap. Izuku smiled and slowly laid down with Ochako still on top. The girl rested her eyes after pecking his cheek one more time. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, good night. A small chuckle came out of his mouth before he stayed silent. Izuku decided to kiss her forehead. They're so lucky it was a Friday. The pair didn't want to let go of each other. Later in the night, Izuku woke up, not from a nightmare, but it was just a wake up from whatever. He looked at Ochako. His girlfriend was sound asleep. Wearing his hoodie made him cry internally. Tears of joy, of course, but she looked so cute. He noticed he was still wearing his school uniform pants and the slightly wrinkled and uniform top without the necktie that had been thrown across the room during that little session they had. Izuku felt uncomfortable being in pants. He always wore basketball shorts under his pants anyway. Izuku wasn't trapped anyways. He lifted the blanket slowly to not awake the sleeping beauty. Unbuckling his belt, he easily slid down the uniform pants and revealed a bright orange pair of basketball shorts. As for the top, he just unbuttoned it more to the point where nothing was buttoned anymore. He felt more comfortable and placed part of the blanket back on his legs. Izuku faced toward Ochako's gaze. He smiled. The dork kissed his girlfriend's nose and began to wrap his arms around her back with one hand on top of her head. He sniffed her hair. She smells so nice, he thought to himself and smiled. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have a cute girlfriend ask me if I wanted to. He cringed to himself, causing a tiny twitch. Whydisino? Because of the twitch, Ochako released a quiet noise that alerted him. He kept steady and pet her. Soon enough, she was snoring again. Quiet, cute snores escaped her mouth. Finally, the boy rested his eyes once more. His smile could be felt by Ochako. I found my happiness. 16, just a tad bit embarrassed. Izuku had been in class a tiny bit flustered over the fact that he slept in Ochako's room. Yeah, he could answer questions correctly, but he was really fidgety, though Ochako was the same. IzuOcha, what's the number of? 72, the brunette quickly shouted, as the whole class noticed how the two were being really weird. Correct, but please let me finish the question. And you are aware that your uniform is on backwards, right? Aizawa tilted his head. The whole class laughed and Ochako was embarrassed as ever. Both of the two cinnamon rolls were really flustered. Why? Maybe because they both couldn't stop thinking about last night's events. Ochako and Izuku had ended up seeing each other at lunchtime. They were still in the class. IzuOcha was just sitting across from Deku. Izuku ended up bringing no lunch, since he usually forgot to eat. Oh, look at you, you're so forgetful, Ochako said, as she got a piece of chicken with her chopsticks and held it near his mouth. Ah. He smiled and bit the chicken out of the chopsticks. Thank you. His mouth was full, but you could understand what he was trying to say. The pair ended up talking, and everyone in their class noticed. Tenya Ida had sat down beside them. Hello, Izuku and Ochako. Ida Deku started, but was immediately interrupted. Please call me Tenya, he winked, and Ochako nodded with a friendly smile. What can I do for you, Tenya? Izuku asked. Actually, I was sent here by Ashido. She said I'd experience what third wheeling is. I asked her for the definition, and yet she just told me to come to my friends. Izuku and Ochako glanced at each other and began to laugh. Though Ochako looked up at Ashido, the pink girl seemed nervous, but Ochako wasn't mad. The day had finally ended for the two. Izuku was holding his dearest girlfriend's hand on the way back to the dorms. Geez, did you finish the math, H? The brunette had been interrupted. DNKI, this is why you're so useless, you idiot, a familiar female voice had said. Izuku and Ochako grew worried hearing their classmate's name. Kyoka, I don't understand why you're so mad at me. Of course you don't, I'm going home, bye. Footsteps could be heard but got fainter. There sat a blonde boy with a black stripe in his hair. On the fountain he was sitting. The boy was in tears. Ochako, go meet up with Jiru, I'll go talk to Kaminari. She nodded and ran toward the dorms, as Izuku slowly approached Kaminari. Yo, can I sit here for a while? Izuku asked. Yeah, Kaminari immediately wiped his tears away. Sorry if you heard anything, Midoriya. Izuku, call me Izuku, he said, patting his back. What even happened? The blonde hesitated to answer and looked at Izuku. You sure you want to know? It's all relationship drama. A short but forced chuckle followed after that. Hey man, I get you, I'm here for you. Izuku smiled and Denki soon smiled after. I got too annoying, I think, but the thing is, Kyoka got upset back when I barely texted her. I was afraid I'd be too clingy. Then again, I may have went over the top. I just want to make her happy. The words that came out of Denki's mouth made Izuku smile. Then, make her happy, you know what she likes. Maybe take her to a concert or something, and in the way there try to fix things and clear things up. Izuku was just spitting out words that came to his mind. He wanted to help out Denki. Over at the girls' conversation, though. Ochako, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I blew up on him. He probably hates me right now. She began to play with the aux cords that hung from her ear. Look, Kyoka, I need you to think. Would Kaminari really hate you over some words? He may be an idiot at times, but he's smart enough to read his girlfriend's mood, no? Ochako pat her back. Jiro faced her and hugged her. Sobbing onto her shoulder, Ochako patted her back. I don't know, Ochako, I never really thought this would happen. I love Denki. I really do. I just react really badly when something isn't okay. He was clearly hurt, and I reacted to him being hurt about something which led to that. Sniffles filled the gaps in her sentences. Why don't we talk in my room? IzuOcha recommended as she held Jiru's hand leading her into the building. The girl wiped her tears and slowly smiled. 17 Double Trouble. Ochako and Kyoka were talking at Ochako's room, while Denki and Izuku were still at the fountain. Yes, maybe I should bring her to a concert. Since you gave me the idea you're coming along, bring Ochako too. No, I can't afford anything right now, plus I think you two should talk things out by yourselves. Izuku firmly stating as he backed his head up. But dude, I really need support, and don't worry about the funds. I know a guy, I'm begging you. Denki grabbed onto Izuku's arm. Flinching a bit from surprise, he sighed. Fine, you're lucky I feel your insecurities about her. Izuku popped his phone out and texted Ochako. Hey, Denki suggested to go to a concert. It's a band that Kyoka's into. It's a surprise. Pressing the send button, he sighed. Let's surprise her, Izuku mentioned. Denki smiled and patted the other boy's back. Yeah, I really appreciate it, he replied shortly after hearing a ding from Izuku's phone. Yeah, I'm down. When and where? I'll set up a hangout for us and then lead us to where the concert is held. After some information had been exchanged, they realized that the concert was next week. Denki already bought the tickets the following week and handed 2 of them to Ochako. Izuku and Denki planned on going out the night before to buy things for Kyoka. Listen, Izuku, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming out today. You really don't need to go. I bet Ochako misses you. Kyoka and I have been talking to you guys more than ever, and you guys never really have. He was interrupted as Izuku was putting his shoes on. Don't worry about that stuff. Ochako and I FaceTime at night. Sometimes we sneak to each other's room and spend the night there. Izuku quickly brushed it off his shoulder since he didn't want Denki worrying about him. All right, let's go to the mall. After arriving, Denki immediately went into a store that sold vinyl records and many other things. Izuku just came along and looked at Kaminari picking things out for Kyoka. Kaminari ended up picking a vinyl record pack and a record player he found. Izuku ended up looking around as well. He found this pink teddy bear and it reminded him of Ochako. The 2 boys ended up walking out of the store with at least 1 paper bag. Deku had a smaller one though. Wanna grab a bite before we head home? On me, Izuku suggested, pointing at the food court with his thumb. Denki nodded and chuckled. Arriving, they both ordered what they wanted as Deku paid for each of their meals. Thank you for the meal, they said in sync as they began to dig in. Izuku ordered a rice bowl with katsudon breaded chicken while Denki ordered a sushi platter. The 2 boys were comfy enough to share their food with each other and they feasted. Hey Izuku, what made you want to ask Ochako out? Denki asked in curiosity, tilting his head a bit. I'm not really sure how to answer that, but let's just say that I realized that she treated me a certain way I never really thought anyone would, he replied, looking up at the ceiling. Oh, Matilda, that's adorable. Denki rested his head on his hand. How about you? What made you want to ask Kyoka out? She had sparkles in her eyes. It sounds cheesy as hell, but when I listened to her sing at a karaoke our friend group went to, she sounded and looked like an angel. That's sweet. After their little conversation, the boys cleaned their meal up and decided to head back. Good night, Izuku. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya, Denki, Izuku said before opening his door. As he unlocked it and opened it, he noticed Ochako was there. Hey Machi, you okay? He walked in and hid the paper bag behind his table as he took his shoes off. Machi was a nickname that eventually became normal to both of them. Sometimes Ochako calls Izuku that. Yeah, I just missed you, she said as she walked toward Deku and hugged him from the back. I missed you too. Denki and I got closer, haha. I guess I'll actually have friends this year. Izuku turned around and hugged her and kissing her forehead. Of course you are, you're a really likable boy. She touched his nose with her finger. Izuku walked over to his bed, which wasn't too far from where he was, and sat down. He sighed and hugged Ochako's stomach. You ready for tomorrow? He asked. I am, she replied, sitting down with him. Minutes later, they realized they were cuddling while laying down, and Izuku had fallen asleep. The next day had been a Saturday. Izuku woke up first and realized the love of his life was still asleep, got up and kissed her cheek before wearing some casual clothes. Machi, come back to bed with me, I want cuddles, Ochako said as she rubbed her eyes. Izuku laughed quietly and smiled to himself. I can't, I gotta get ready for what's gonna happen tonight, Izuku said as he tried to get Ochako to wake up as well. Alright fine, can I borrow a hoodie then? I'm too lazy to go to my room and grab new clothes. You don't even need to ask, he replied as he revealed a closet full of his clothes. Ochako stood up with a grin and grabbed a hoodie. Machi, can I borrow some socks too? If they can fit you, yeah. They were too long for Ochako's feet, so she just used them as long socks. Izuku looked at her outfit and smiled. You just like my clothes, huh? He whispered under his breath. Ochako grabbed his hand with the sweater sleeve. It was extremely oversized on her. Izuku smiled at her gesture. Well, yeah, they are my boyfriends. This time, Izuku liked hearing that word come out of her mouth because, well, it's obvious. He's the one and only boyfriend. The couple left Izuku's room and split up to make their plan work. 18 just you, me, a blonde idiot, and a music girl. The two had split up, seeing their own friends to initiate the let's get these idiots to talk plan. Izuku had gone to the meeting spot with Denki, and Ochako had met up at a restaurant with Kyoyuka. The boys had gone to the school and had talked over their game plan, while the girls went to this cute little cafe. You look great today, Jiro, Ochako said, smiling. How many times do I have to tell you to call me Kyoka? She sighed but laughed afterward. I'm sorry, I'm just so used to Jiro. Ochako sighed and carried on with sipping the coffee she had ordered. The brunette was swaying her legs since they were sitting on the bar with the chairs high enough so you wouldn't touch the floor. Jiro, on the other hand, was humming while enjoying a piece of cake she ordered. Ochako had ordered a plate of strawberry mochi. An hour or so passed and the two had left the cafe heading into a park. There was a swing set enough for two, and the girls ended up swinging on it lightly as they talked about things. Well, Izuku's quite cute, I'm so lucky to have him, Ochako stated. Oh, that's so cheesy but still cute, Kyoka stated. Ochako scoffed and jokingly pouted. She suddenly received a phone call. Speak of the devil, Ochako was filled with glee, seeing her boyfriend was calling her. Hi, oh, it's almost ready, okay, I'll bring her there, Ochako whispered quiet enough so Kyoka wouldn't hear. Hey Kyoka, Ochako grabbed her arm. What's up? Guess what I have? Ochako reached into her mini purse as Jiro tilted her head. Taking the tickets out, it took the black-haired girl to process that she had gotten tickets to her favorite band, not to mention they were really expensive. No way, Kyoka screamed while grabbing the tickets and staring at them. Yes way, now let's go, we're gonna be meeting up with other people. Kyoka didn't even care who was coming, but she was so thankful. How the hell did you even get this money? It isn't from me, haha, she said as she entered the train with Jiro following. It had almost been time for the gates to be opened. Izuku and an anxious Denki had been waiting for their girlfriends. Machi, a feminine voice called out as Izuku turned around. The boy hugged his girlfriend while Kyoka awkwardly made her way to her boyfriend. Was this your doing? Kyoka began to play with the earphone jacks connected to her earlobes as a blush started to appear. Kaminari sighed and brought his head down. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're still not go, he was interrupted. The girl had pulled his collar down, closed her eyes and pecked the boy's cheek. The other two noticed but smiled to themselves, knowing their plan worked. Come on, dumbass, I want you to smile, Kyoka said as she held onto the boy's hand and looked into his eyes. Denki was holding the gift on his other arm, but Kyoka didn't even notice. The couples made their way into the seating area and enjoyed the show. Kyoka was bopping her head while Denki just stared at how beautiful his girlfriend was. Izuku was lost since the band was singing multiple genres and he was trying to figure out what type of girl Jiro was, but she had a lot of favorite songs. At the last song they played, fireworks were released into the sky, forming flowers. Their eyes reflected the beautiful sight as Ochako realized that Izuku was smiling. She loved seeing his genuine smile. Denki and Jiro were looking together, but the blonde boy had suddenly gotten the paper bag out. "Kyoka, I got you something," Kaminari said as he pulled the record player's box out and showing the vinyl records. Jiro was silent. "Do you like it?" he asked, getting a tad bit nervous. Kyoka had grabbed his collar and brought his face close to hers. "Of course I do, dumbass," she stated before planting her lips on his. Soon enough, they melted into the kiss. Izuku wanted to give them some privacy, so he held his girlfriend's hand and walked to a different spot. The fireworks were still going. Izuku and Ochako had made it to a spot where the view was beautiful. The street lights were a nice touch to the fireworks. The boy had taken the teddy bear out. "I thought you might have liked it," he said as he handed her the bear. Ochako held onto it and smiled. "Thank you so much, Deku." Ochako hugged the boy and squeezed the hoodie he was wearing. "I love you." "I love you too, Ochako." Izuku pulled away from the hug only to be pulled into a kiss. As soon as their lips planted, one last firework had been shot. Of course, it was in sync. Ochako didn't let go of the teddy bear during this exchange and had wrapped her arms around his neck while still holding onto the bear. Izuku didn't hesitate to give back. The two gasped for air and smiled. The two were happy. "Thank you guys so much, we really owe you," Jiro said as both her and Denki were bowing. Hey, no, what are friends for?" Izuku said as he smiled. "We're gonna head home now, but we wanna pass by some place to eat," Denki stated as he placed an arm over Jiro's. "Wanna come?" Izuku looked at his tired-looking girlfriend. "I think we'll pass, thanks for the offer though. Have fun, you too," the green-haired boy said as he waved. Izuku and Ochako dazed at the stars as they were walking back to their dorms. Reaching their destination, the boy was contemplating if she should sleep in his room or hers since she was half asleep. "I'm sure she wouldn't mind," he thought as he brought her into his room. Laying her down onto his bed, he smiled and looked at his beautiful girlfriend and twirled her hair around before laying down beside her. 19 What now? The girl had woken up, still laying on top of her boyfriend. Izuku was in a deep asleep while having one arm on Ochako's back. She smiled as she rolled off of him and shifted her position. Izuku subconsciously turned her way and wrapped his arms around her. Izuku woke up minutes after he shifted his position. The boy rubbed the sleep out of his eye and smiled at his girlfriend. "Good morning," his voice was raspy. Ochako was surprised by it at first, but soon found his morning voice attractive. "See, can you say my name?" "Ochako?" Izuku was a little confused, but he shrugged it off. The girl was currently simping, if that's how you use the term. She then shook her head and placed her forehead on his chest area, still cuddling with her fluffball boyfriend. The boy closed his eyes and pet her head as they cuddled. Ochako looked up at him and pulled his shirt down to get her close to him. Their lips had touched and Ochako was feeling the passion. The two had been making out for a good 5 minutes now. Both gasping for air, there was a string of saliva connecting their lips. Both of them were extremely red, but they soon went back to dancing with their lips. Izuku pulled her waist closer to him as they kissed passionately. Little noises were escaping from Ochako's mouth, but it was out of pleasure. After 20-ish minutes of making out, the two stopped and had realized it was almost time for class. Ochako already brought in her uniform, and Izuku was comfortable enough to strip in front of her. The male revealed his muscular build and his scars. Some were battle scars, some were self-harm scars, though Ochako already knew about that. Ochako hugged his bare skin from his back, wrapping her hands around the boy's stomach. Izuku sighed and smiled. He felt quite lucky to be hers. The girl ran her hands through his muscles and abs and giving him a tiny massage on his shoulders. The boy decided to turn her way and they made eye contact. Izuku smiled and kissed her forehead as Ochako let go and smiled. She decided to wear thigh-high socks today. Under her long skirt were a black long pair of thigh socks. Her white collared shirt was a little wrinkled, but not too noticeable. Izuku, on the other hand, was struggling with his tie. Again, Ochako noticed him struggling and ended up tying it for him once more. She let go of his tie and began to put her shoes on as Izuku put some shoes on. though Izuku accidentally landed his eyes on Ochako's thighs. Being Izuku, he quickly averted his eyes to his feet and socks. Ochako quickly noticed this at the side of her eye. She stood up and walked toward him with her hands in her hips, pretending to be mad. The girl grabbed his tie with one hand. "Mr. Pervert Izuku, mind explaining what exactly you were staring at?" Ochako teased him, but Izuku was blushing as red as a tomato. The boy had no words and decided to look away. Sorry, he was cut off with a cute laugh that escaped out of Ochako's mouth. Leaning in, Ochako pulled Izuku's head closer using his tie, turning his head back toward her face. Their lips touched and Izuku was suddenly quiet. The girl had sat on Izuku's lap and continued to make out with him. "How many times are we gonna make out today, huh?" she asked jokingly. "What's our schedule like today?" Izuku asked. "We have history, English, and hero training," Ochako answered as she thought about it. And with that, Izuku carried her while she was still attached to the boy, using her legs to wrap around her boyfriend's upper body. Laying her down, Izuku caressed Ochako's face. "We don't need to learn about that stuff today," he said as he began to kiss her again.